when you're getting ready to retire, you're landing a plane. This 10-year stretch is so vitally critical. Amazingly difficult period to navigate because you have so much going on both financially and emotionally, and you got these big dreams, and you don't want those big dreams to be delayed or denied. You want to make the right decisions with your money. Not every month, not every year, not every decade is created equal, especially when it comes to retirement planning. So what's that most critical decade in retirement planning? What I've seen from my experience is that it's those 5 years prior to somebody retiring, and then the 5 years immediately after they make the decision to retire. And this 10-year stretch is so vitally critical because this is when you've got a lot of financial considerations that you want to get right, and there's a lot of emotional stuff, a lot of things going through your brain in terms of what do I need to make this a success retirement? What are the things that could derail the retirement that I have in my head? And those thoughts turn into concerns and anxieties and worries and all kinds of things because there's a lot on the line here. This is your life. You got this one life, you got this one retirement, and now you have realized, hey, I may have the right amount of assets to be able to retire. I built my portfolio up. The power of compound interest is allowing it to go at a faster and faster pace. And so I feel like maybe I've got enough money saved now that I can eventually stop working and enter into the retirement phase. You also may be have less responsibilities here. You may have children that have either grown up, they're out of the house, or they're in college. Maybe they're off the payroll now, and so you see that your expenses might be a little bit lower, just a little bit, because your children are out of the house now. And so you now have the ability to feel like, okay, I have better assets, I've got less responsibilities, I can do this, I can retire. Now I just need to know, what am I going to do in retirement? And you start getting all of these light bulbs going off about how exciting it is, and you start trying to put together a date as to when you might actually stop working and start retiring. Let's look at what are the issues that somebody who is planning on retiring, once they've made that decision, I do want to retire in 3, 4, 5 years out, what are the challenges that that person faces? And of course, there's a financial challenge, and the financial piece is they have this big bucket of savings. They've got a bunch of retirement assets in 401ks, IRAs, maybe brokerage accounts, Roth IRAs, all kinds of stuff. But they're not really sure, how do you take that pile of money and turn it into an income stream that can last you the rest of your life? If you got $1 million portfolio, pretty simple to understand that I can't spend $1 million in 1 year or else the money will probably be gone. But how much can I draw off that $1 million portfolio, or that $2 million portfolio, or $3 million? And I've seen people north of $10 million that don't really understand how much money they could realistically draw off that portfolio in order for them to have that same lifestyle throughout the rest of their life, throughout the many decades of their retirement, hopefully. So the first question is a financial one, which is how much income can I draw off of my assets? The second piece is, what are all my other income sources? When should I start taking those? Social Security, pensions, annuities, all kinds of other sources of income. How do I put those together into the pie? So those are the big financial pieces. And those are, of course, very important pieces because the finances do matter. But inside there's a big mental game that's going on. And the mental game is, okay, I've decided I want to retire in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. And right now I feel maybe somewhat confident that I could do that. But a whole host of different things will happen over those several years that might change that person's focus. And that might be if something is happening within your industry and you feel like, I might lose my job prematurely, you have that fear. Then you have the fear of what happens if the markets take a big dive. When we're in sanguine markets or the markets just keep rising, it's easy to go, the money's definitely there. But if you go through a financial crisis, you go through the dot-com crisis, and you have 30, 40, 50% drawdowns in your portfolio, how will that affect whether you can retire or not? Of course, you saw that the markets in those scenarios, whether it's dot-com or the financial crisis, the markets are down, give or take, 50%, right? How much would your portfolio be down in that kind of a scenario, because that's what you're trying to figure out now. You have to put risk management controls in there. This is a case of throughout your lifetime, you've been basically able to just keep funding and forgetting about it to a certain extent. But as you get closer to retirement, you've now got a much higher level of assets, and your tolerance for risk is going to be reduced because you want to retire. So you want to turn off the spigot. You want to be able to live off these savings, and so you got that date in mind. And that means that you got to take that lifetime of savings and you got to figure out, how can I manage the risk so that I feel confident, not just today, but throughout the time that leads up to that retirement date, so that I can retire. If I want to retire in 5 years, I want to be able to retire in 5 years. I don't want to have to delay it a year, 2, 3 years beyond that, because that's 2, 3 years of your life that now, instead of you taking these amazing vacations, doing these volunteer opportunities, hanging out with your friends, playing golf, taking trips, signing up for all these hobbies, all this wonderful stuff, playing with the grandkids, you're having to continue working. So that's a big piece of it, is making sure that you maintain that confidence level right into retirement. Now let's take a look at what happens once you actually have retired. And this is so critical, because this is a very weird mindset where once you retire, there's no more money getting funneled into those retirement accounts. You don't have that paycheck that keeps putting contributions into your retirement accounts. Now you're thinking about taking money out of those accounts. Okay, that takes a little bit of muscle memory to get going at first, because it feels very weird. It feels strange. It feels a little unnerving, and that's even in a calm market. It can feel unnerving. But now you take a market that has some sort of a setback. And imagine yourself in a situation like a dot-com crisis or the great financial crisis of 2008, 2009, and you see markets going down pretty sharply. Well, now you're taking out money while the values in your account are going down. That's a double whammy, and that's really a painful experience, especially early on when you're not used to this this feeling of taking money out of accounts. You're now having to pay attention a lot more to your portfolio, because you're seeing the numbers fluctuating a lot more, and you realize you don't have the opportunity to put more money into these accounts. So you're not able to buy at these lower prices because you're not making any contributions anymore. You're having to live off this money now. So it's a very jarring experience in those first few years, and that's why it's critical how you position your portfolio and how you navigate mentally to get through those first few years, so that you can then basically understand, okay, I now know where my money comes from, I now know what my lifestyle looks like, and I have a better idea, hopefully, of what my portfolio needs to look like, so that I can balance both some stability in the short term to give me some level of confidence, versus long term being able to grow the assets faster than inflation, so that I'm increasing my purchasing power and I can maintain today's lifestyle well into the future. So this is why it's very critical, that decade, those 5 years before retirement, 5 years after retirement, amazingly difficult period to navigate, because you have so much going on both financially and emotionally, and you got these big dreams, and you don't want those big dreams to be delayed or denied, and in order to do that, you want to make the right decisions with your money. So if you're in this window, just remember, this is going to be a real difficult stretch. You want to make sure that your portfolio is dialed in. You're not driving your investments too fast. The one analogy I always give people is that when you're younger, as a younger investor, you can basically fly your investments at cruising altitude, just like an airplane. It's going to go north of 500 miles an hour at cruising altitude. They're not worried about landing the plane. They're not worried about overshooting the runway, any kind of volatility as they're trying to land the plane when they're 30, 40,000 feet in the air. But when you're getting ready to retire, you're landing a plane. Just like any goal of yours, any financial goal, when you're getting closer and closer to that goal, you're landing the plane, and that means you got to start dialing back the speed so that you don't overshoot the runway, deal with too much volatility at too fast a pace, and have some sort of severe accident. And that means dialing back the risks associated with your portfolio. Maybe it means giving up a little bit of the upside return in order to have a little bit, potentially more of a smoother ride. And so these are the critical decisions to make, and they get more and more critical as you get closer and closer to a goal, and especially a retirement goal that is so massive.